Welcome to part 2 of creating a budget. I realized last time I may have done this formula a little quickly, so I'm going to show you again a little more step by step how to do it. Okay, the Johnsons are going to enter this number manually. How much money they have in their checking account and how much they have in their saving account at the beginning of the month. At the end of the month of February or at the very beginning of the month of March, they will come in here and they will enter the total number. I'm going to delete this formula. By the way, any box that you highlight, this is the formula box. Up here, this shows the formula of what's happening. I'm just going to delete it. We're going to start over. Okay, these are monetary figures at the end of the month. Let's say they actually have less money in their account than they started with. Okay, so it's obvious they've lost $1,012. We need this box to show that loss, but we need to create a formula just like we did over here so that we don't have to do this math on our own. That takes too long. So you press equal. You can do it in the box or you can do it up here in the formula bar. And we want to have a positive. What we want is at the end of the month to have a positive number in here. So we're going to have equals parentheses this number plus this number, or rather what's in this box plus what's in this box, close the parentheses, subtracted from parentheses what's in this box plus what's in this box, close parentheses, press equal. So now it reflects that negative $1,012 that was actually lost. Formatting, you can center it so it's like that. I did merge those two cells together, as you can see. So then this will be how you represent, how you can just kind of tell at the end of the month whether you've lost money or made money. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a comprehensive income tracker, or a way to keep track of your income. This is what we want it to look like, but we want it to be over here. So this takes up 5 columns. Highlight them, merge, type in whatever you want to call them. Okay. You can do whatever formatting you want to do to make it look nice. We'll do formatting later. Okay. So we're going to have the person who receives the money. In this case, we have a two income source family, the father and the mother. I can type. The source is going to be what job it came from. The amount is obviously going to be what was received. The date is when the check was received or the deposit, and then because this family pays tithing, whether the tithing was paid. Highlight them all, center them all together, and we want to box it as well, just like that. I'm going to increase the size of that. Again, I'm a formatting guy, so I'm just going to format it. Okay. Throughout the month, and this is another thing this is another part where you have to be disciplined. You can either do it throughout the month, or in theory you can do it at the end of the month, but you want to be able to keep track of the income made, because you'll notice these dates ascend. This was hypothetically in December. So we have Mrs. Johnson, and we have Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Johnson received her $50. Oh, see, that's not monetary. So what? Oh, it's because it's the source. That's my fault. From her piano lessons. Okay, and then she received the $50. Now this column is going to be monetary, so I'm just going to highlight and just go down like that. And the date received 2/2/13, which was a Saturday, but let's not worry about that. We're going to put yes or no. They have not, let's say they've not paid their tithing on that yet. Okay, so I'm just going to enter a bunch of arbitrary numbers here, just like this, representing, or the month's worth of income, but these numbers obviously will not be entered until the income is actually received. Okay, so here I have entered in the figures. Gideon works at South High School, so he gets his income from there. Hazel works at a printing company, so here's her income. She also teaches singing lessons. He also helps coach the basketball team. Here is their income. Here's how they keep track of where it's coming from. These are the dates they were received. And no, they haven't paid tithing on them yet. you will want to create a chart like this, and the nice thing about looking at the completed formula here is how I've divided it up. If you have a lot of sources of income or lots of little checks, you can insert more rows, and so you basically have an unlimited amount of space to work with. We'll get to this debt summary part later, but we are going to create the box, and we'll actually get into it later. So we're going to use H through K at row 12. Row 12, H through K, merge. Debt summary. I'm going to make this chart really quick. Actually, I lied. I'm just going to highlight the box, the area we want to use, and I'll show you how to use it later. Okay, so now we've got an income here, and that's what we're going to apply to here. Total income. We're going to create another formula. Press the equal button, or actually we're not going to do that. Exit, highlight the box. If the cursor is inside the box, this won't work. The AutoSum button up here won't work if the cursor's. So just leave it out. Then AutoSum, that, and press enter. Again, it AutoSums. Now, if you type another figure down here, you'll notice it actually did not affect that formula. But you'll notice this did pop up. The formula in the cell refers to a range that has additional numbers adjacent to it. Click on it, update formula to include cells. And now if you look, it says the formula for that box is C21. It automatically included that for you because it noticed that there was a number adjacent to the line that it had included. So that's really nice. And now that right there, again, is a box you don't want to highlight or you don't want to adjust. And so we're going to change its color just so you remember that I'm not actually put anything into that box. So now what we want to do is we want to create a comprehensive expense tracker. We have a comprehensive income, but now we want to create a comprehensive expense tracker. Just like the income, we want to know who spent it, how much was spent, the day it was spent, and the explanation or the purpose it was spent. But you want to give yourself plenty of room to write out. So I'm actually going to merge together 4 cells here for the explanation of expenditure. Do a little bit of formatting, just like that. Okay, so again, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to bold it up, make that a little bigger. We'll bold that while we're at it. Whatever. Okay. Now, you'll notice down here, these are still single cell boxes. What we're going to do is we're going to click this box and select short date. Okay. Now this box's format is in the date. So if we were to type 2/3/13, I don't know why it did that. But let's try that again. Let's go 2/3/13. Automatically does February 3rd. Okay. We're going to use this. We're going to highlight this box and create accounting. That is general and that's fine. And we're going to merge these 4 cells together. Okay. And now all we have to do is we're going to highlight those 4 cells and click Format Painter. And we're just going to click and drag this whole area. Okay. Now what that's going to do, you notice it went down pretty far. I'm down into the row of 57 and stuff. Just like that. Oops. Now we didn't want all those lines, so I'm going to show you how to get rid of those lines. Just pick a random box out here, Format Painter, select all those, and now those lines are gone. But you also lost your merging cell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge those cells there. Date, amount, spender. Now I'm going to highlight those, Format Painter, go down, and now all those cells are merged. All these cells will be ready for dates. All these cells will be ready for accounting numbers. Again, this is where a little bit of discipline comes in, because as you go throughout the month, or like once a week, or even it's not wise, but if your bare minimum effort here is to do it at the end of the month, you open up your bank account, and you look at your spending records, and you see where your money went. So on this day, Hazel spent $65.09 on the 3rd of February, and she spent it by debit card at Chevron, sounds like a basketball player's name, and gas for car, okay? It was actually a van. Gas for van. And so as you go throughout the month, or whenever you update it, you enter in just enough information to see how the money was spent, where it was spent, and why it was spent. And there's a reason to do this besides just being meticulous. By keeping track of where your money is going, how it was spent, and why it was spent, you open up the possibility to stop yourself from being stolen from your cards being used against you fraudulently. I myself have had the opportunity to stop my cards from being used on fraudulent purchases because I was keeping track of where my money was going. You're also going to use this data to determine where it goes up here. Okay? So for example, this was gas for the van. And we have a column for gas, it's right here. Soft total, right? So we're going to click on that box of soft totals, the running total for the month. We're going to click equal, highlight that cell, and press enter. Now, if it's just one, it doesn't really seem like there's a purpose for doing that. But if later on in the month, Gideon spends another $14.56 filling up his bike, then instead of you having to pull out your calculator and add those two numbers together, highlight the cell, soft total, again, gas, and then come up to the formula and just put in a plus sign, highlight the next box, and press enter. And that becomes really helpful when you start worrying about groceries or utilities. When those bills come in at different times of the month, you highlight the multiple cells and you punch them in. I'm going to fill out this chart with some more expenditures of this hypothetical family, and I will show you how to do that a little better. Okay, so now as you can see, I've added several more items and purchases here. This number right here, as I showed you earlier, is the sum total of this row. But again, as you can see, it only goes through B38, which is right here. We have a lot more down there. Click on the box, update formula to include cells, goes now down to B52. Goes right there. Another way you can do that so you don't have to worry about continuing to update it is you click on the box, you just press AutoSum, and you just drag it down to a lot farther than you imagine you're ever going to need it. 143 ought to do it. So that'll work too. Now what you need to do, as you've entered in all of these numbers, these figures and expenditures, is you want to enter them up here in your soft total bar. You'll do that by selecting, as I kind of showed you before. Right here we have two purchases for gas. You select gas equals that plus that, press enter. Okay, and then it totals that for you. I'm going to fill out the rest of this for you, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so I've finished entering in all of the figures into the soft total bar up here. Now if you look at each bar, as I click on it, you'll see up here that each bar has its own formula. These are not numbers that you want to enter in manually. Again, just like this row, you don't want to enter numbers into here manually. So you're going to highlight that a different color as a reminder. Now at any point in time you can look and see what each box is used. You can look up there and just see B28. So you could scroll down and see B28. But if, like for groceries, there are a lot of entries, you can just click the box in the formula bar and then scroll down and you'll see everything that is highlighted. Everything that has been used into that formula. Same thing with any of these. Now if at any point in time you want to add on to a formula, so here miscellaneous, you can, you can scroll down and see we have a couple entries there under miscellaneous. A shirt from Men's Warehouse, medical bills for the young one, Xbox Live subscription. But let's say here at the end of the month, Mr. Johnson gave Violet some money for going out to lunch with her friends. All you have to do up here in the formula bar is add an addition sign, click it, and press enter. And that's how you can add progressively throughout the month new boxes into any given formula. But I'm going to undo that because I want to show you something else. Remember how I made this box here a sum box, sum total of that column. This box right here is the spent box. Remember, this box is the sum total of this row. You'll notice that right now that they don't match. That's the reason you do this twice, or that's the reason you have two different boxes with your current expenditures, because you can use that as a way of telling if you have failed to enter something into the formula up here. This box represents these numbers, this box represents these numbers. So now I can see, okay, obviously there is something I've spent that I have not yet recorded. Come down through process of elimination, you can figure out what it is, and then you can add that, and voila, now the numbers match. There's a really neat formula trick you can use to help identify that for you, to highlight this box for you or this box if they don't match. Now I'm going to show you, it's just a little bit of formatting, but I'm going to show you how to do that because I feel it's important. Click this and come up to Conditional Formatting. Highlight Cell Rules, click Less Than. And then what you're telling the computer is that if this box has a figure that is less than whatever we're going to enter here, we want to say if it's less than what is in box number G22. G22. And we want it to show up with red. Okay. Nothing happened. That's okay. Let me show you. Now we're going to do it again, except we're going to do greater than this time, and we're going to do the same thing. Equals G22. Okay. Now if we come down here and we add another entry, 2531, you'll notice that this box actually changed its color because this box is now less than or greater than the total of this box, and so it highlights. You can use the same rule here if you don't want it up here, but all you have to do is rectify the situation. So, and it was a debit card at Smith's for groceries. You come up here to groceries, you add the entry just like I showed you before, and now the box has neutralized itself again, and you know that every dollar you've spent down here is recorded up here. It's a neat little trick to make sure that you don't forget to enter things where they belong. I also told you earlier that I was going to show you how to predict how the Johnsons were going to predict their tithing expenditure. What you can do there is you can just enter a formula. The allotted expenditure for tithing is going to equal 0.1, which is 10%. Oops, I did that wrong. Equals 0.1 times whatever that is. Enter. Now obviously since this is their first month, this figure is 0, but in March when they have been keeping this record, what their total income here is will be in this box. So let's say they made the exact same amount of money last month. It automatically calculates 1/10 or 10% of that. Again, the formula is 0.1 times that box, B10. That's how you can calculate the allotment of tithing or any other figure that is dependent upon another figure, if that makes sense. So even if this isn't tithing, if this is taxes, or if this is how much you're going to donate to your local charity, or if it's how much you're going to invest into your stocks, if it's going to be a percentage basis where your company matches whatever you match or matches whatever you donate or invest. So if you're going to invest 15% or 2% of whatever, you can change this to invest, and that's going to equal not 20%, 2% of that box. And now that's how much you're investing. So you can use that formula very simply to predict numbers based on other numbers. Now, as you can see down here, I've highlighted their tithing payments. Once they do that, they can come up here and just say yes, that they have paid their tithing on their income. Now, the reason I highlighted these is because they're going to write next to it taxes. So what that's going to do for them is at the end of the year, or come March or April of the next year, when they're going back through their financial records, they're going to be able to come back and say, now what did we spend that we can use as tax write-offs? Tithing counts as a tax write-off, it's a donation. And so they've highlighted it in green or whatever color and written taxes next to it so that when they are filing their taxes, they can remember to include these numbers into their tax write-off equations. Another little formatting trick that I'm going to do is I like to highlight everything that is of the previous month a different color so that you don't get confused by what you're looking at. I like to use a nice brown or sepia tone because everything that's sepia is old. So I've highlighted those boxes so that I can differentiate them. Now, this same rule that I taught you here for formatting, where this box changes color based on this box's relation to that box, you're going to do that here too, and you're also going to do that in several other places. If you remember looking at this box, everything you see here that's a different color is all basically the same thing. These are all different conditional formatting based on what's in the box. So when it's no, it's red. When it's yes, it's green. That's conditional formatting. When this is negative, it's red. When it's positive, it's going to be green. That is not conditional, that's just background. These are conditional. So that trick that I taught you on the last page about this and this, you can apply that anywhere you want to. Now, when I do my formatting video, I will show you in depth how to do that and how I've done it and how to make it a little more fun and rewarding to yourself. But the next thing that we're going to look at in my next video is going to be creating the debt tracker and keeping track of your debt and trying to eliminate debt, because the vast majority of Americans have debt and we want to change that. America itself has debt and we want to change that. We want to be an independent, free society where we are not dependent upon the others to sustain us. And we do not want to be in bondage to our money. We want our money to work for us. We don't want to work for it. So thank you for watching the second video. Part 3 will be construction of the debt tracker and showing you how to use your money for you just a little bit more. Thanks for watching.